Welcome to the Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexei Kouleshov and I'm your host. This is a brand new podcast. I've been contemplating on doing this for quite some time, and here it is finally. So, before I start, I wanted to quickly introduce myself. I am a digital marketing agency owner and entrepreneur. I run quite a few businesses, some successful, some are not successful, but overall, I try. And I do a fair bit of sales and marketing coaching. I'm a father of three and I'm 40 years old. And I think this podcast is long overdue. Obviously, there's been some inspirations from various podcasters that I listen to on my way to work or potentially while I travel back or between the appointments. And I find that, podcasts are a breath of fresh air. And I hope mine will become your breath of fresh air when it comes to business and how this can potentially help you grow your business or, achieve a balance between your life and the business that you're running. So, why am I doing this podcast? Obviously, I've got better things to do, but I find that I do talk to quite a few people, and I find a lot of very unhappy business owners that are just they wish they did better, in their business. And let's be honest, a lot of us start businesses with freedom in mind. We basically focus on being in charge of our own time. We're trying to change the whole monetary exchange of dollars per hour and create something that works for us. And oftentimes we fall a little bit short of that. I know I'm guilty of it. And look, I think there's many business owners who basically want a little bit of support, maybe a bit of direction, and sometimes there's just a bit of a gap that needs to be addressed. um, you know what does it mean to get a business the way it needs to be? Does that even exist? Some business owners are quite happy where they are and naturally achieve quite a lot. Other business owners are often, getting coaches and other people to help them out. I'm not saying either is right or wrong. It's just all about your comfort zone, I guess, where you want to go. Getting a coach certainly helps to achieve faster results if you get the right ones. But at the same time, it really needs to work in line with your goals. And I find that clarity in the goals overall is often overlooked. I think that another really important aspect is mental health through the whole business owner journey, because, let's be honest, business is a lonely world, and we often don't get the support of the confirmation from the people that surround us. It's just the sad truth behind running a business. With the whole business, it's a matter of doing things differently. It's a matter of challenging yourself, and oftentimes you find that the business that you've created is nothing like there is. Like you can't find another one just to sort of copy it. Even though you may try to do it, you still end up with your own thing, and that's great. I think that's the whole beauty of business. Business is a reflection of your beliefs, and I think if you get the clarity and put the right process in place, then your business can really work for you. I think having a better business is really any business owner's dream. So, what's this podcast going to be about? I think focusing on sales and marketing, which is my forte. I'd like to give you some tips, if I may, um, throughout my episodes, and I want to interview some interesting people. I've got a couple of interesting people lined up that I reckon can share a few things that are quite different in the sense that how they do things, and maybe the services they offer may help your business as well. I'm also a big fan of Audible. I love reading and listening to books. So I'm happy to review some books and basically provide a few recommendations to some good reads and various influencers out there that can help you with your business. And then there are some really good tips. There are some really good tools. Like software, and so that can really help you with your business if you understand the power of systems and processes. So really, I think it's about learning from people who aren't afraid to fail, and obviously this sometimes is referred to as successful people, whom I'm going to try to bring in as guests to my podcast. Um, so I guess this week, what I wanted to talk about to kick this off is to talk about the whole concept of you being a generalist versus you being a specialist, because I think a lot of businesses really jump into their journey, whether they really thought it through, come up with a plan, or basically have been just advantageous and just started something. So the whole idea is many businesses fall in a situation where they're just not able to charge the amount that they truly deserve. Let's put it that way. And the best analogy that I've ever been given was about specialist doctors. When you go to a general practitioner, they charge an average rate, but they also provide you with a fairly average advice. You're still going to listen to it. But then if you're going to go to a specialist, they'll charge you a lot more, a couple $100 an hour, even per half an hour appointments. And then you're going to listen to every single word. Now, essentially, you are going to see a doctor. They may be very similar in the actual education that they received or even the experience, but the difference is that one specializes while the other one generalizes in what they do. With many businesses, that is exactly the same dilemma, and people fall into that whole thing where they just service all sorts of inquiries that sort of comes their way. And for startups, that's understandable. If you're starting out, you obviously want to get that cash flow going. But if you've been in business for quite some time, the whole idea is really for you to get the ideal customers for the services that you can offer at the right price, and that's usually by being a specialist. Whether you're doing it purposely or not, you'll realize that the businesses out there typically would split up into something like 80-20, or the Pareto principle. Some of you may be familiar with that, and I'm sure we'll cover it in the upcoming episodes. But the thing is, you really want to focus your energy on something that gets you the outcome that you deserve. So the 80-20 is that 20% of your services generate 80% of the outcome. And if you're a startup, you may not see it that way, but if you're an existing business, I'm sure you've seen that over and over again. And really the whole idea is you want to make sure that you attend to this sooner, because this, in my opinion, is probably one of the biggest reasons why businesses stop growing, and then all sorts of other things start to happen as well. Your charging in your sales process around being a specialist becomes different. And I think a lot of people do this without even realizing that they're a specialist in something. But really, if you talk to some of your clients, you may find that, I chose you because you really know your stuff. You really know what you're talking about. Or you showed me something that others haven't. And that's a specialist trait. So it's really all about having that active conversation. It's all about educating your customer. It's all about showing how things can be done better and potentially staying away from that whole general approach. And look, I understand everybody's different. Your personality profile may be completely different. You may be, an introvert, not wanting to talk to people, but still there is a structure that you can follow in order to position yourself as a specialist, as opposed to just agreeing to any of the general work coming through. For example, if you look into, let's say, a business like, plumbing, something quite simple, and I'm sure, it can be quite complicated. They can do all the general side of things like, fixing taps, and basically helping out with leaky pipes and so on. But let's be honest, those appointments are not really ideal. And even though they're costing a customer a fortune, maybe a couple of $100 to fix a tap, for a plumber to travel somewhere to get all the tools and stuff like that, it takes a lot of time to deliver an outcome. And if they focus themselves on an hourly rate, it's a race to the bottom. Whereas if they focus on things like, let's say, block drains, for example, there's a lot of money in something like that. Now, the whole marketing then obviously needs to change. But if you just focus at the one thing, you're going to have fewer jobs that are obviously coming in at a higher price. Now, I know what you're thinking. Obviously, if you're in plumbing or the trades, the whole block drains may be super competitive. And that's understandable. But if you market yourself initially as a specialist in block drains, you will create that following where people will start to refer you specifically for that side of things. And look, I guess the default presumption here is that you know what you're doing, you're pretty good at your trade, and then from there really starting to focus. Now, in your business, the whole block drains could be a different sort of specialty. But yeah, I find, with a lot of graphic designers, for example, people fall for all sorts of things, doing a business card here, doing a flyer over there, as opposed to specializing in something. And the specializing really could be something that bundles all these things and really creates a lot more authority when you start to talk about it. And really, it's just about trust, right? When people come through and they want to do business with you, it's about know, like, and trust. So people know you, they basically, get to like you, and then they basically trust you with the actual transaction. You may be able to jump this process if you are selling like a transactional side of things. But especially when you sort of tap into that specialist environment, you really need to understand what makes that up. And if you're being purposeful about the whole thing, I believe you'll do a lot better. So my tip for this week is, if you're starting out a business, try to think about the 80-20 in terms of where your outcome is likely to come from, and see if you can actually specialize in a particular niche. There may be something that you like altogether. Maybe your business is really quite niched already, where you become a specialist pretty much straight away. But maybe you're wanting to start something completely new. And look, if you don't know what you're starting out, if you're focusing on the cash flow side of things, or you need to provide for your family, that's fine too. Like, there's a lot of misconceptions about business owners, focusing and doing things that they love doing. Well, that's a dream, really. If you can do that, head off to you. But I find that a lot of businesses are still really focusing on the actual business. So the whole idea of you know loving what you do versus doing what you love is really quite strong here. I think if you understand the outcome and can really focus on anything in order to do it great, that creates that awesome business. And if you specialize in that, that really sets it to another level. So that's it from me. Next week, we're going to have a guest, and I'm hoping that from there, we're going to have this as a regular show. I haven't decided yet whether we're going to do it weekly or fortnightly. As you can imagine, this is a fair bit of commitment. But currently, I'm working on a book called Better Business That Works, and hopefully, this book is going to be out, probably in the next couple of months. There's still a few things to do. I'm finalizing things, but really the idea is to give you guys some further understanding of how business can work for you. I want to be able to give you, my logic in a practical sense, where you can see how a business can be looked at and improved, where any business owner can really do it. And look, we'll talk about it in the coming episodes. But all I want to do is to really kick this off, and hope that you guys will enjoy and provide me feedback about my podcast, because obviously this is new for me, but I do think I've got a few things to share. So if you like the content of this podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button, whichever platform you found this on. I will do my best to produce the best results for you. And if you guys wish to contact me, Google me up. I'm sure you'll find my Twitter and my other social profiles. And we'll chat soon.